this video I would like to talk about my business idea I have for the time after the MBA. Russia, as the biggest country in the world, covers more than 1/9 of the total world surface. 50% of Russia is covered by forest, and nearly 1/4 of the worldwide forests are to be found in Russia. The proximity to Asian and Western European markets underline the strategic value Russia has in these markets, and these facts demonstrate Russia's huge potential in the forest and timber industry. However, the total production of sawn wood with a bit more than 20 million cubic meters is still not much bigger than in Germany, Sweden or in Finland. The Russian government, as a consequence, has set the target to force investments to the forest industry sector and to promote a competitive domestic forest industry. As a consequence, the whole sector is expected to face an investment boom during the next decades, and Russia, because of its immense potential, will emerge as one of the world's largest producers of wood products in the medium and long term. Further to that, Russia is currently creating every year up to 80 million square meters of new living space, and the total need of new living space amounts to 1.5 billion square meters. This leads to the high growth rates and high consumption in the domestic wood-based construction market, and will make Russia one of the biggest wood-consuming countries worldwide. This is again supported by the fact of increased export duties, which will improve wood availability to local processing. Besides the focus of the Russian government on the exploitation of the forests, Russia will have a competitive advantage to the relatively low roundwood price. 1 cubic meter of spruce or pine, solid over bark, costs around 40 euros in European Russia, versus more than 80 euros in Germany or Austria, the countries I'm most familiar with. All these facts have convinced me that there's a huge potential for investors in the Russian wood industry. This graphic shows in more detail the huge potential of Russia. Russia has 808 million hectares of forests, which equals to 50% of total Russia, compared to only 193 million hectares in remaining Europe. This is valid even if we take into consideration that still only 60% of the forests are considered being productive, and a significant part of unutilized harvest potential is currently inaccessible. If we further look at the wood processing industry in Russia, it is remarkable that the 10 biggest sawmills in Russia produce around 4 million cubic meters per year. And if you compare this figure with the sawmill industry in Austria, an industry I'm familiar with, where the 10 biggest sawmills produce around 7 million cubic meters per year, one might understand that there is still no consolidation taking place on the wood processing market in Russia. And this is exactly where my interest lies. One could say that it is not the best time for capital expenditure in Russia, since the Russian economy shrank by 8% in 2009. I am, however, convinced that Russia will return to growth in 2010 and 2011 because of the support of the government and lower interest rates. Even the Economist Intelligence Unit recently raised its GDP growth forecast for this year to 3.5%, which would make Russia the best performing mainstream CE market in 2010. This ultimately will help the emerging middle class, which as a consequence will again support the wood construction industry. In the past 10 years, I've focused my professional development on 2 topics: emerging markets and the forest industry in general, with a focus first on timber because of my family background, and then on paper. I am passionate about our family-owned timber industry company. I grew up spending a lot of time there, watching and learning how to source wood, proceed wood and sell the semi-finished goods. I've also used the past years to build up a network in this industry sector. With Mondi, I've continued the path and further focused on the forest, pulp and paper industry. Since I have seen how to run a business, I always had the long-term goal to be responsible for my own company. This idea became more concrete in the past 12 months when I intensified my thoughts and plans around my core strengths. I want to actively participate in the development of the softwood processing industry in Russia. During my MBA at Graggaber, I plan to dig into more detail on the business potential and to create a local network. to explore the possibility of founding or managing a softwood processing company after the MBA. I want to use the final part of the MBA to elaborate a detailed business plan, securing access to woods, creating knowledge about sawmills and the local laminated timber board industry, and learn more about the purchasing habits of Russian customers. I plan to start first discussions with stakeholders and potential shareholders from Russia, but also from Austria during the MBA. I will motivate people in order to make my vision, their vision, and ultimately our goal. So let's make the first step towards a challenging journey during this Graggaber MBA. Thank you for giving me the possibility to talk about my business idea.